I really can't see anybody here. That's not really. So it started at breakfast. The phone rang. It was my mother. So, why do you never call? The only possible answer is because I don't like you. How else do you deal with a Middle European mother who's a master of guilt, but straight on? What's up? We were at dinner last night. I want you to come over. We should go to the bank and talk. Oh no, I was not ready for this. Turned out that 6 weeks before, my father had died. And just a few weeks prior, my mother had got diagnosed with later stage cancer. So this was all starting all over again, a repeat of the previous year. Except this time, I was going to be the primary caregiver. And I really didn't want to go there. But it's what you got to do. And it was going to be powers of attorney and all that other crap. And I just wanted to avoid it right now. I just wanted to have a bit more time. So I thought, well, maybe I can distract this. I said, well, why don't we just take care of the gun? You see, back in the mid-70s, when my grandfather died, he had had a gun, and it had come to our house. And for the last 35, whatever years, it had resided in the safe, in the basement, with passports and birth certificates and all that other stuff. And I did not want to have to deal with this, so I thought, well, I can avoid doing the other stuff, so let's talk about this. Let's do the gun. No, that's not important. Don't worry about the gun. We need to go to the bank. No, really, we should do the gun. No, you'll just bury the gun in the backyard. It's not a problem. Now, you're laughing, but the backyard was wrong for so many reasons. My mother was a lot of things. She was a physician, she was a mother, she had been a wife of 50 years. But she also was sort of crazy about dogs. She raised dogs, she trained dogs, she competed with dogs. And over the course of my lifetime, at least, we had had about 12 dogs, 2 or 3 sometimes at the same time. And those that were lucky enough to live to a really old age and die at home, I got to dig the hole in the backyard to bury them. So there were at least 3 dog remains at the back of the backyard. So to add a gun to that was just wrong for so many reasons. On top of that, I really felt it was wrong to just bury a gun in the backyard. I mean, I could see 20 years later kids playing, digging this up. It didn't matter that it was loaded. It's just not a good thing to have. But we ended up at an impasse. I really didn't want to do the bank thing. She was not going to take the gun into the police station. She said, don't worry, you'll deal with it when I'm dead. So it turned out, about 8 months later, I was back at the house. This time all alone. It was about a week after my mother died. And I was starting to go through all the things you have to do. And I was running into silly little problems. You know, the big things are easy, but things like canceling the phone and the cable can sometimes become nightmares. The one thing my mother was she was very internet savvy. So she did all her banking online, and she had all her bills delivered electronically. And what happens when you cancel somebody's bank card is you lose access to all that history. So I'd go and try and cancel these things, and they go, so what's the account number? I don't know. There's no paper bill. So we'd start, well, what's the name of the account? So I'd give my mother's name. No, we don't have anybody by that name. So I tried my father's. Yep. And then they want the documentation to show that this person has died, and documentation to show that I'm authorized to act in their capacity. So that afternoon, I had had a couple of situations where I got into a vicious circle. My mother was my father's executor, and I was my mother's, but I wasn't my father's, and these bills had gone back, these accounts had gone back 30 years ago. They had been in the house for 50 years, and they were mostly in his name. And I reached a point of frustration. I just wanted to complete something. I wanted to check it off the list and feel like I had done something. And I thought, well, the one thing I can do is I can deal with the gun. There was a police station about less than a kilometer away from where my parents lived. I figured, this is easy. I'll take the gun, I'll take it to the police station, I'll hand it over. End of story. I did think that much, and I thought, I should call the police station. It's not good to just walk into a police station with a gun. And I knew not to call 911. I looked up the actual number to get to the station. I talked to the duty sergeant, and I explained what I wanted to do. And there was a pause. And then he said, well, sir, I think we should come to you. What's your address? I gave the address. And I thought, this is getting out of my control. I just want to do this, get it over with, and then I'll go pick up my daughter from daycare. But I gave the address. And he said, well, there should be a car there in about 10 minutes. And immediately I thought, oh my goodness, this would just so embarrass my parents. A week after my mother's died, there's a police car that's going to be coming up to the driveway. So I kept an eye out on the front. And soon enough, police car came down. Now, they don't park like regular people. They don't come into the driveway or park by the curb. They just sort of sprawl. And I see the officer get out of the car and start walking to the front of the house. So I go out through the kitchen into the hallway, and I'm waiting behind the door for the doorbell to ring. And I'm waiting. And I'm waiting. So there's a window by the door, so I take a peek. There's nobody coming towards the porch. So I open the door and look out. And there's the policeman on the neighbor's front porch. I'm over here. Come on over. So he comes over. Comes in. I ask him to wait. I go down to the basement, go down to the safe where the gun is. I pull it out. As I'm coming up the stairs, I sort of take a look at it, and I realize, this doesn't even look like a real gun. It's in a box. It has a picture of it. It's sort of, 1960s Kodachrome type colors. And it's sort of a stylish looking picture. It's like something James Bond would use in one of the earlier movies, not, a big hunking thing like you see in today's crime dramas. It's something you would hold a martini in one hand and the gun in the other and look very poised. But I bring it up, take it into the den where I have all the stuff laid out, put it down. The policeman looks at the box. I don't think he was sure it was real. Looks at it and goes, I'm really not familiar with this sort of firearm. But does it really matter? It's in a box. You're going to take it away. You're presumably going to destroy it. What? I should call my supervisor. Okay. So he calls the supervisor and he explains, there's this gun. He's not familiar with it. What should he do? And there's some silence from his end, and I wait. And then he tells me, they're checking to see if the firearms expert is around to come over. Yeah. Okay. Wait a bit longer. And then he says, the person isn't around. I said, fine, it's okay. This obviously isn't a good time. I'll take the gun back to the safe. I'll make an appointment. We'll do it again some other time. He goes, no. But my supervisor did say we could get the SWAT team to come. I said, no. This is not going to happen. No SWAT team. I mean, it's a quiet neighborhood. They don't get much entertainment, but that's not the sort of entertainment I wanted. And I also had visions of me lying face down on the carpet, handcuffed, or I don't know. So he went back and called his supervisor again. And after a little bit of talking, he said, it's okay. The expert's back. They'll be over in 10 minutes. Great. Now, there's not a lot of small talk that one has when there's a gun and a policeman in your den off the kitchen. But we manage. This time I saw the car pulling up. Again, same sort of parking job. It looks like a takedown is ready to take place. But at least I was ready and headed to the door to keep them from trying one of the other neighbors. This time it was a policewoman. She comes in, take her to the gun, show it to her, she takes the lid off. She picks it up. And you could see she was really into it. It's like, oh, this is really cool. She picks it up, she gets a grip on it, she starts waving it around. At least 3 times it passed in front of me. Like, do they not teach these people gun safety? I said, please, put it down. I don't think it's loaded, but I'm not sure. She very confidently opens the clip, pulls it out. Nope, it's not loaded. Good. Why don't we just keep the clip to the side? So then we started the process of doing the gun. She got a nice little plastic bag. It looked like an evidence bag. She puts the gun in. She puts the box in, zips it up, labels it. And then we have to fill out the forms. And there's a lot of questions. There's, where do I live? Where are we? What's my relationship to the gun? And then the questions like, are you voluntarily giving this gun to the police? Yes. Sign here, please. Do you know that we're going to dispose of the gun? I hope so. Sign here, please. Do you know that you're not going to get the gun back? Is this a trick question? Sign here. Great. It's now 4:45, and I'm thinking, I got to get these people out of here. I got to go pick up my daughter. Finally, the paperwork is done. They pack up. They leave the house. They get into their cars and drive off. I go to the front window. I sort of look around. I expected to see about 8 or 9 of the neighbors in their front window, watching the takedown at 206 Parkview Hills. And as I was putting everything away, my mother's voice came to me in my mind. And what she said was, "You should have buried the gun." Thank you.